Hi, I'm Earl. Welcome to my shop. In a previous video I showed start of this project. This is a bench and the base for the bench for a farmhouse table and bench I'm making for my granddaughter. I showed a couple of dowel jigs I made when I was making the base for it. And I wanted to show you today the jig that I used to glue up the bench top. I know a lot of you don't do anything but edge glue boards together to make a glue up. I've done that in the past too. But in this case, I really wanted to try to keep the registration the same so that there was very little sanding to do here across the top surfaces. I've used biscuit joints in the past to do that and had limited success with it, but just wanted to try dowels since I've been playing around with dowels this year. The jig I made registers the two pieces that are being joined, one on one side, one on the other side, and then you drill into the edge of the boards with the two holes that correspond. These are just the different holes I made for different placements of the hole on the edge of the board depending on the thickness of the board. This one puts it pretty close to the middle of what I've been doing. The only other thing that goes with this jig is 3 spacers. Nothing more than a board cut from the same board so that there's the same thickness there, and I screwed a fender washer into it. The only thing that's critical about this is the 2 holes must be the same distance from the 2 faces of the board that separates the 2 boards we're putting together. Whether or not they are perfectly aligned left to right is not critical. This is the dowel jig that I'm using to glue up the tabletop and bench top on the project I'm working on. The material started out as 2x12s. By the time I got it dressed and flat and planed and everything, I'm down to 1 3/8 inches. When I first made this jig, I drilled 2 holes in it and then struggled to glue this piece on in the center of these 2 holes and straight. I finally got it, but then it turned out I realized, and I measured from the outside edge, and I should be measuring from this face to the center of my hole. This offset the hole in the edge of the wood by 1/8 of an inch or so, maybe a little more than that. So I came back and needed to drill 2 more holes. So I drilled these 2, and I found that by using my auxiliary drill press clamping table, I could adjust the table from the back fence 3/4 of an inch, line it up with a line marked on the board, and drill the hole. Turn it around and drill the next hole. That worked, but as I said, I adjusted it to 3/4 of an inch, which is 1.5 inch material, and I'm down to 1 3/8 inches. So now I'm going to make a third set of holes in here, adjusting it 1/16 of an inch closer to the reference faces, and drill a couple more holes. I already drilled one when I did not have the camera turned on record, so I've got that one done. Now I'll drill the second one. Now I'll take the steel spacers out of these 2 holes and put them in these 2 holes, and hopefully by having spacers only in the holes I'm going to use, I won't drill in the wrong hole when I'm clamping up and drilling. I made 3 of these spacers that are the same, actually they're cut from the same board that the jig was cut from, to help hold the work pieces into position. Already got one on the other end. position that in there and use the washer as an edge guide and clamp that in position. In this case, I'm going to clamp it to my bulk workbench too to hold everything in position. So I've got two of these, one on each end already in place. This one I just let float, keep it in position here to just support the workpiece in case whatever. Position the jig. I use 3 clamps to secure the jig to the 2 workpieces. Drill the 2 holes, then move the jig to the next position. I moved it about 8 inches here, but the spacing is not critical. As long as the 2 workpieces stay clamped together, the registration of the dowel holes will be consistent. As you move the jig to the next position, you should be sure none of the chips from drilling the hole get under the jig. This would affect the location of the hole in the workpiece. This process is certainly slower than using a biscuit joiner, but in my opinion, the results are worth the effort. Remove any tear out around the holes with sandpaper. A dry fit with dowels would be wise here, just to check before applying the glue. Don't ask me how I know that. For the glue up, I squirted a little glue in each dowel hole and spread it around with a Q-tip. Then I spread glue on each workpiece, brushed glue on one half of the dowel, and inserted it in a dowel hole. After all the dowels were tapped all the way into the holes, I brushed glue on the remaining half of the dowel. Unfortunately, my camera battery died before I joined the 2 workpieces and clamped them together. But this is a normal glue-up procedure I'm sure you're already familiar with. My video on making dowel jigs 1 and 2 has more info on building these jigs. A link will be provided below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've never used dowels, I encourage you to give them a try. Thanks for watching.